Never judge a book by its cover. Chapter 1. Friday, 9th of November, 1992. It was a typical mid-November Friday afternoon. It was already dusk and raining heavily as the train ground gradually to a halt. The weather-washed platform was bare, except for an elderly man and woman waiting patiently beneath a multicoloured golf-type brolly. The carriage, which ended its journey in front of the soaked twosome, emptied with haste. The couple stood aside to avoid being trampled as the platform came to life for a brief moment. A man of medium height and build stepped back from the doorway. His hair was dark and cropped short, and he had an assertive, confident look about his slightly weathered, but obviously young and clean-cut face. He tossed a shabby old green military-style holdall over one shoulder and gestured for the pair to hurry and take shelter, as he was in no particular rush to face the harsh weather that awaited him. "Thank you, young man," coughed the old chap, attempting to cover his runny nose and mouth with a handkerchief, while he climbed steadily up into the carriage. His drenched wife closely followed behind, shaking the excess water from her umbrella as she boarded the train. "Don't mention it," replied the younger man, pulling the collars of his brown leather bomber jacket up around his neck. He tucked in his chin, then jumped out onto the platform to confront the elements and made his way towards the station exit. By now the rain had worsened and the icy wind was sharp enough to cut. The storm seemed to attack from a flank, with bullet-like raindrops, each one trying to pierce the bare skin on his hands and face. He bowed his head and walked on apparently oblivious to the weather, as though he was accustomed to it. The city's main bus park was situated directly opposite the train station's front entrance. As he left the station, he could see that the bus he needed to take was about to depart. He broke into a jog and crossed the busy main road through the staggered gaps in the tea-time traffic. The driver of the bus glanced up and noticed the man running in his direction, so he hung back for a moment, allowing him to catch his ride. Relieved and thankful that an extra hour's wait wouldn't be necessary, he hopped onto the bus and delved into his damp denim pocket. "Cheers for waiting, mate. Can I have a single to Bransfield Heath, please?" "That'll be £1.60, please, bud," the driver replied. There was a sign above the driver's compartment, asking the passengers to please have the correct change ready. The young man noticed this, but hadn't got enough. "It's gone up since the last time I was here, and a £5's the smallest I've got, mate. Will that do?" He waved a soggy £5 note, which the driver took, and then printed off a ticket while sorting out some coins with his other hand. "You in the forces?" he inquired, nodding towards the Army Old Hall. "Yeah, well, no, not anymore. I got out of the army this morning." The driver tutted, shook his head. "You'd have been better off where you were. There's nought round here for young blokes these days, not with the pits all shutting down. The army's the best place for you," he warned. The man smirked. "Thanks for the advice, but I'm sure I'll find something to keep me busy." "Keep you out of trouble, more like. I hope you do, son. I wish you luck." Just then, a familiar voice sounded from the rear of the bus. "Oi, ugly!" The sodden man turned, grinned, then discarded his wet holdall into the baggage rack and made his way to the back seat, where the only other passenger was perched snugly in the corner. A stocky lad in his early 30s, unshaven with brown, fairly well-kept shoulder-length hair, clad in sports gear and a dark blue wind cheater. He removed a rolled-up bus ticket that he had been chewing from his mouth and took his feet off the length of the seat to make room for an old friend, who he hadn't seen for some time. "Steve Pissing Campbell, long time no see. How long you home for? When you giving back?" Steve sat down. "Are you a copper?" he asked sarcastically. "No, don't be daft," replied the lad. "What's with the interrogation then? 20 questions?" "Nah, just curious, mate. We ain't seen you for ages. I want to know if there's time to get together for a bevy before you have to shoot off again." Why is it? The first thing anyone ever asks when I come home is when am I pissing off back? Fuck knows. Perhaps it's because you're a pain in the arse. Steve's grin grew. "There'll be plenty of time for a get-together any road, Bobby boy. I'm home for good this time." Bob looked concerned. "Don't tell me you've gone AWOL, or you've gone and done something stupid and they've booted you out." Steve laughed. No, you soft sod. I've discharged myself as of right. I've done my time, I'm coming home, he sang jokingly. Bob's expression changed from one of concern to one of shock. Jesus wept. I never thought I'd see the day. I thought you were a lifer. It was all you ever wanted. What changed? I suppose it's me that's changed, and more to the point, I needed a change. So there you have it. I'm a civvy now, or at least I will be in another month, officially. Got any ideas what you're going to do? Steve shrugged. God knows. Got an out lined up. So if you've got an out in the pipeline, what are you going to do for Dosh? I've got a bit put by, and I've got a month's pay to come, plus I'll be on half pension. It ain't much, but it's better off in my pocket than it is theirs. Any road, I don't reckon it'll take me long to find something. By now, the bus was well on its way towards Mansfield Heath. Steve was starting to feel excitingly anxious as he neared home, just as he always did when returning after a lengthy stint away, except this time it was to settle down and to start a new life. Do you fancy doing a bit of door work? You'd be good on the door, suggested Bob. Whereabouts? Tamler's. I've been doing a bit there for the last 6 months. It's not bad. So what happened to the building? Didn't you start some home improvements venture last year? Bob nodded. I'm still doing it, but I started on the door last summer as holiday cover for someone, and the gaffer kept me on. It's only at weekends, and as an extra bonus, the place still gets packed with totty. In fact, some of the older birds that used to go when we did are taking their daughters nowadays. Besides, it comes in handy in this weather, because the building work slows right down anyway. Steve rubbed his damp face with both hands, then stroked backwards over his head. A powder fine rainwater sprang from his hair. Do you think they'd take me on? If they gave me a couple of shifts a week, it'd do till I found something permanent. I reckon so. They're always looking for extra muscle, and I'll put in a good word for you, because I'm virtually head doorman any road. Pop down tonight and tell the lads on the door you're there to see Frank. Nice one, Bob, me old Canton. No probs, mate. Glad to help. About 9 then, yeah? Sound plan, so I'll see you then. Bob smiled and winked. It's a date then, he answered cheekily. Steve squeezed the button on the chrome handrail, and the driver of the bus obeyed the chime of the bell, slowing down before pulling up at the next stop. Pleased with the fact that he may have found work so soon, Steve grabbed his bag from the rack and jumped off the bus with a bounce in his step, waving at Bob as it drove away. On the short walk home, Steve thought about what Bob had said. He contemplated door work and himself being a bouncer. He had done it once or twice before in Germany, but only for very short periods, and never in a venue such as Tamler's, but only in discos on a smaller scale. Tamler's, a privately owned nightclub, was situated in a suburb around 200 metres from Bransfield town centre. It was one of the few remaining traditional nightclubs in the area, since the industry became flooded by large chains of entertainment complexes, incorporating bowling alleys and bingo halls into nightclubs with cabaret shows. Tamler's was still a nightclub in the true sense of the word, with late night drinking and dancing, and with a variety of music to cater for most tastes. The majority of the patrons were mainstream, a mixture of stereotypes and trends. However, there was also a minority of clients assembled into an exclusive clique of VIPs who were guests and associates of the owner, Mr. Frank Travis. If you'd like to hear Chapter 2, it will be coming soon, so watch this space. Ciao for now, hasta luego, me old marrows.